How you doing, Jordan? Good to see you.
Good to see you, mate. How you doing?
Ready for a game?
Oh, yes, I am.
Did you bring the terrain?
Oh, dude. I forgot it.
I did bring some.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you want to take D3 and D4, did you bring clippers? No?
No, Steve.
We haven't got time for this?
No, this is going to take way too much time. Let's get rid of it.
Now, but we could make this look really beautiful, though.
Yeah?
We might,
Sure.
we might need a few more pieces.
Do you want to play tonight?
I do.
Okay, right, cool. So what are we going to do?
Okay, well, I do have another set,
Cool.
but it did just fit in my car.
Okay.
And it is made of cardboard.
All right, sure.
But it does look super cool, I think.
All right, interesting.
It's neatly packaged.
Yeah.
And it does mean we can play tonight.
Yes!
So I want to say a massive thank you to our friends over at Tabletop Titans for sending us the Titansterrain to check out. Now, as Vanguard Tactics, we're all about things being fair and also balanced to ensure players have great competitive games. Now, that doesn't mean you want to win at all costs. What it actually means is both players can feel like we can compete. And what we've got here is a terrain set. Yes, it's made of cardboard, but it does look awesome, and also it just pops out pretty easily. So when you're going down your local club, or maybe just going around to your friend's house, and you want to have a fair and balanced game with your friend without literally minimal effort, right?
Literally minimal effort.
All you need to do is get your box out. Everything is in here. We've got the original set here, and then we've also got the expansion set, and you get some cool little extras as well if we can hit the Kickstarter fund. All the links to the Kickstarter are going to be below. But in this video, we're going to help you set up your sets of terrain so that you can see it's competitive, but fair and balanced for every single different type of deployment map that Games Workshop have laid out. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with buying Games Workshop terrain, and of course you can build it and paint it and make it look absolutely beautiful. But if you're like us and we just want to get models on the table, get some practice games in before a tournament, or maybe you don't play that often and you don't want to have, loads of terrain lying around your house getting dusty, then this is an amazing alternative at a really, really affordable price. So check out all of our deployment maps and you can see how great these tables actually look and also how functional they can be. Okay, Jordan, so we've got Crucible Battle set up here. Now, what we've done with Crucible Battle is one of the key things is that because the deployment zone is a diagonal and it goes to the halfway to the table all the way to the end. Yep. We want to ensure that we've basically lots of places to hide, places to move into, and then some stuff in the middle that's blocking line of sight without being too open or too closed.
Yeah.
So if we have a look at this table, then how we've set this up is we've got a small L shape in the corner. This is great for fast units to kind of move out from later turns from your deployment zone, so it gives you a little bit of coverage. It also means, because of the objective, you can just about stand inside here and still hold the objective.
Exactly.
Alternatively, you could stage behind this larger L shape and also hold your home objective. But that being said, it's not going to allow much OC to be on the actual objective itself. So it does allow attackers to move onto it, which is great. You've got a nice little bit of line of sight blocking here that you can move around into this building and also hold this objective from inside the building as well.
Yeah, you can literally stage inside that building and get the objective.
Which means that combat armies are going to have to be forced to push out and sort of tackle them using those combat troops, which is definitely what we want to see in the table, but without too much being blocked off in the centre, keeping it nice and open for some firing lanes as well. And I think this is a fantastic orientation that I would use. So you've got in the corner, and we've made this symmetry, so if you put your hand on mine, so we've basically got a small L shape, the large L shape with the angles of the L shape should always face your opponent.
Exactly.
That's going to keep it nice and easy. Same with our containers, corner pointing your deployment zone. We've then got the U shape, and again pointing towards our opponent, because this will be your closer objective.
Yes.
And this will be my closer objective to move to. And then we've had these in an orientation as well that also run parallel with our deployment zones as best as we possibly can.
Yep.
Now, to create this battlefield, what we've done is we've used the half tile that you get. Now, the half tiles are brilliant, I think, and we've put those just there to offset this huge L shape.
Yeah.
Because if this is set back, then that means this objective is completely out in the open and probably a little bit too much so. So what we've needed to do in order to create a second half piece is use the board that comes as either a full square, or you can fold it in half and have a half square. And we've put that right on the end, and it pretty much, it fits slightly higher, but it's barely even noticeable at all. And I think this actually looks great, and a really nice symmetry, but competitive table for both players to set up using this terrain set.
Yeah, it works for both combat and shooting armies. There's plenty of firing angles as well. You've got your lanes down here, your lane through the middle as well. And also, it's not one of those missions where you're going to be sat in the middle and you're just going to be shot from all angles, because they're going to have to get to certain points of the board to be able to see you, right?
Yeah, and there's plenty of room for vehicles to move around without them kind of getting blocked off, which I think is crucial as well. Whether you play Imperial Knights or big monsters, everything's going to be able to play, as well as those smaller infantry units. So there we go, that's Crucible Battle. We hope you enjoyed this deployment zone, and we're going to show you the next deployment zone. So here we have Dawn of War. Now, with Dawn of War deployment, the map is going to be right the way across here, okay? Now, it's going to be roughly 10.5 inches with these 15-inch boards. However, the great thing about this is that with this orientation, we've got these two end objectives, because they need to be 20 inches away from the center. And normally you can't have an objective within an inch of a wall, but I think this is probably the best way to have this set up, so you're not really kind of conflicting too many different units. This is a container people can move onto, knights can move near it, so it's all going to be fine. Plenty of people can contest this because it is a container. They work slightly differently to a ruin. And then these ones in the back here, these back objectives, these are hidden quite nicely by this big L shape. Now, what this map allows us to do is by utilizing more of the U shapes, we can have U shapes in the middle where combat armies can move into, and they're getting good coverage from all angles. However, in our own deployment zone as well, there are still some nice firing lanes that can be created, but a shooting army really has to work for them. They have to move out and come out of their kind of deployment zone and really get aggressive and attack, which then allows combat armies to counterattack as well. So again, it does open up the play for different types of armies. Dawn of War is a really tricky one to get right, because if it's too open, a gunline army will just be able to create too many firing lanes too easily, and they'll dominate the game. So I think here, helping out the combat armies is going to be certainly something that's preferable. And again, having nice U shapes in your own deployment zones means you can deploy in these 3 buildings and then move out and tackle the objectives.
Yeah, no, I like it, mate. It's exciting, actually. I'm actually looking at this and analysing where I'd put all my units. Definitely having some infiltrators on this side, mate.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you want plenty of units that you can feed out to this objective,
Yep.
but you're probably going to lose them because then they're out in the open.
Yeah, but to be fair, there is quite a few staging points. So, like, for me as a Blood Angels player, I can jump into this building, and then you've got another move into your opponent's deployment zone. There's obviously still the danger zones with the firing lanes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely got a lot of tactical play to this board, and I like it.
And the other good thing as well is you can't hold this objective whilst being in the middle. So nobody can hold it, which is great. So it means that you actually have to come out of the ruin, fight, be out in the open, which is great for either combat armies or shooting armies. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic map. And again, to create the space on the edges, we've used the half boards, all the 4 boards, folded into half, and therefore that gives us space on the edges where we don't really need, terrain. We'd rather have edge space rather than lots of space in the middle and create too many gun lines.
Exactly.
Right, well, there we go. That is Dawn of War. Let's check out Hammer and Anvil. So here we have Hammer and Anvil. Now, with Hammer and Anvil, your deployment zone is going to be right away from the edge and roughly 18 inches on. So we're looking at this being our deployment zone. Now, there is one objective in our home field, which is covered by this L shape. And again, that's going to be great, so we can hold that from our home field. We've then also put the smaller L shapes in the center, and the objective can actually sit behind that. And it's probably the only terrain feature you can actually have here in order so that it's not basically sat on a piece of terrain. Again, we used the smaller pieces on the outskirts, just like we did with Dawn of War. And then we've moved the containers into the center so that infantry models can move behind, run around and try and take the objective, or it becomes a much more open area for big monsters and vehicles to shoot, because obviously they'll be towering over this and being easily able to be hit, because this is not a ruin. These are those kind of big containers, and obviously all the other pieces on the outskirts are, going to be giving that obscuring cover. Now, the great thing about this 18 deployment zone is this is actually where your wall is, so you can put all of your infantry models into here, maybe some of the faster moving units in the center, moving out and then proceeding. Yeah. So what do you think, Jordan?
I'm loving it. I think it'd be so cool just to have like this flanking attack. You're moving into your central buildings here and then jumping out into the center, try and grab that center. Yeah, I mean, even if you're playing knights, because obviously, as you said, these aren't going to be obscuring, so they'd be able to see over the top, but you've got these channels along the edges where you can outflank the knights and get them in combat, or even moving up a vehicle, getting some shots off. Mate, I'm loving it.
Yep, it does create some good elements to hide,
Yeah.
but then also kind of spring into the middle, set your traps, and then kind of attack out, which, looks awesome to me. And it also means that this has given our home field quite good protection, but also slightly susceptible for things like deep strike in this area to be able to attack into that piece. Or if I was to deep strike down, I can attack into Jordan's objective there, which is kind of cool. So that means Jordan's going to have to put some units there to stop me from deep striking. So again, it's going to create a really nice dynamic game with this type of setup. Okay?
Do I, though?
You probably won't.
No, I won't.
You'll do something different.
I'll just run all the way up the board, mate.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, take a note of this terrain setup, and then, of course, we'll move on to the next map. So here we have Sweeping Engagement. Now, with Sweeping Engagement, this is a really interesting one because your deployment zone goes right the way up to the halfway mark and then all the way across to the corner. So this is our deployment zones that we're aiming for. And as you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nice pieces of terrain. And again, what we've done with these pyramids is we've made them so they're parallel towards our opponent's board edge. And then we've faced all of the long walls of the U-shapes towards our opponent. All the objectives are actually really, really difficult to control. The ones that are right out in the open in the corners, they can't actually be held from any type of terrain feature, which is going to create really interesting firing lanes. The one in the center also can't be, controlled from any sort of ruin, but this one in your home field should be. So this is going to really rely on lots of lone operators, some really tough, durable units to kind of weather the storm to try and hold those objectives. But you've got 2 nice pieces of terrain here that have equal kind of distance to try and battle over that objective. And then also big L shapes where combat units can move out and tackle any opponent units that are near that middle objective. So what do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I really like it. So obviously we've got these 2 here that are kind of out in the open. But as you said, you've got your 2 buildings here to be able to jump in and out of, gain a bit of cover. But at the same time, there's not exactly like a straight firing line from your opponent's deployment zone apart from this angle here.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to start coming towards you to get a bit more of a better angle if they are going to shoot units here, unless they're guard and have indirect.
Of course, unless they've got that indirect, which we all hate.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you can do, I think this mission works really, really well with supply lines where you have to set up an additional objective. And if you were to do that, what you need to do is then pull this objective this direction, and then the other would go there. Now, this is actually super cool because now these objectives are a little bit easier to hide. So I think supply lines is that mission rule. Setting up to objectives is going to be great on this mission particularly. I think it's going to work really, really well.
Yeah, no, I like this. I actually think this one would play a bit better, as you said. So
I do agree because then you've got, sure, you can get a bit of cover, but you've actually got to work. There's quite a distance here to cover to get to it.
Yeah.
So then maybe you've got a stage from this objective. Makes it really, really interesting. Alternatively, what you can do when you're playing supply lines on this one, you can actually have one piece in the middle and then use these kind of smaller pieces like on what we've done on the edges, put those in the middle, and it can start to shift this all across.
Yeah.
So then it starts to block out some of those firing lanes as well. So hopefully this gives you a really good idea as to what you could do with sweeping engagement. So the last one we need to cover is probably my favourite, and it is Search and Destroy. So that map's coming up next. So here we have Search and Destroy. Now we've done something a little bit different with this map, Jordan.
We have.
We've actually used the smaller pieces to create a bit more dynamic going this way rather than what we've done before going that way. So with Search and Destroy, your deployment zone is essentially a quarter of the table. So you have this quarter, and I've got this quarter, but we can't be within 9 inches of a circle. Okay, so that's kind of a no man's land area. So I can put some units or models behind here. I can put plenty in this area. And again, this is a nice area for me to put my units to. And then I can move into this small L shape and maybe get one model to hold the objective.
Yeah, because you can actually hold from inside the building, can't you?
You can with those ones, and just about here as well, but not many. Now, when you can't get many models on an objective, it means that it's very easily contested by your opponent, especially if they can put more models with a higher OC on it. However, it does give you some element of protection.
It does.
And I think on this table, with this kind of setup, you know, a lot of the firing lanes are still open. However, it does give nice staging points for combat armies to have, again, a really nice dynamic game. So hopefully this series has given you some fantastic ways to set up your battlefield, and we really want to thank Tabletop Titans for sending us this terrain set. And if you want to get yours, all you need to do is head over to the Kickstarter, and the links will be in the description below. And make sure, if I was you, I'd get both the original kit and the expansion to make sure if we can get that fund, then we get these additional pieces, which, as you can see, we've used in every single setup because we think they're absolutely crucial. We think they're brilliant. So yeah, do make sure I'd get that full set. And as you've seen from us already, they make a really nice, well-balanced, competitive set, but also one which looks great, easy to fold away, put on the shelf until next time you want to play. So Tabletop Titans, thank you so much. Make sure you grab your set, and we'll see you on the battlefield very, very soon. So Jordan, there we have it. What do you think?
Mate, I love it. I think it's one of those things that I think has been needed in the wargaming communities, just having a board that can literally just, you can get out and it takes 5 minutes to do, right? Not even 5 minutes. It takes 2.
Yeah, because we don't all have like amazing, you know, artistic talent to paint terrain, or the time and the resources to do that.
Or even the storage.
Well, the storage is another thing. So again, Titansterrain really does solve some of those problems. And I think this is great for most people, whether you've got already some terrain at home or maybe you've got a couple of sets at this. I think it's a nice addition, and it can be played narratively with some of like the massive spire, which looks absolutely awesome. And we'll be sure to feature some of those in some of our live battle reports in the future. But most importantly, it's a great addition if you already have terrain as well, to give you a different type of playing surface to go to, or maybe you want to get a friend into playing without too much effort and energy. So there we have it. Again, all the links to the Kickstarter are in the description below, and it has already been funded, which is amazing. So you can be guaranteed the product and when it's ready next year. So hopefully you like it, and we certainly do. And again, Titans, thank you so much. You bunch of legends.